We can evaluate log functions with a calculator by identifying where our log button and natural log button exist, so log and ln. This means that our calculator can only evaluate two types of logarithms. It can evaluate the natural log of whatever expression we want to plug in there, and it can evaluate the log of whatever expression we might substitute into it. If we're dealing with the natural log, again, this is the same thing as log base e of whatever expression we're taking the log of. But we get a little bit of just something to be aware of whenever we deal with this log expression. Historically, whenever we write log without a base, the implication has been is that that's a log base 10. With your calculator, most likely that's going to be true. Typically in textbooks, that will be true. But as technology becomes more and more prevalent, generally what we end up with is that log written without a base ends up being the same thing as log base e or the natural log. Again, if you're using a calculator, you can generally assume that if there's no specific value written there, log on its own means log base 10. Same thing would be true for most textbooks and homework questions, but if you're using any computer technology to evaluate logarithms, that's just something to be aware of and look out for. If we want to evaluate a log, for instance the natural log of 42 over 13, we would simply find that natural log button and then make sure we have a set of parentheses open so that we're evaluating that entire expression, 42 divided by 13. If we don't use parentheses, it might see this as the natural log of 42 and take that result divided by 13. So you just want to be sure you're paying careful attention to parentheses, and this should come out to be about 1.173. If we have a slightly more complicated expression like we do in example 2, again, we just need to be sure we're being very careful with parentheses to evaluate this as the natural log of 99 divided by 70, or if your calculator has a fraction key, you can use that. So closing off those parentheses before we then divide by 0.02 to get approximately 17.331.